In this session, we're going to cover the custom visual capabilities inside Pyramid. Custom visuals are like all other business logic calculations. They can be created and shared with other users using the same governance framework offered inside Pyramid's content management system. To begin, we go ahead and click on the Formulate button. And from here, if you have access, you're going to click on the new Custom Visual button. To start, we have to pick a database that we will use as a modeling data set. I will use the sample demo. And now we're presented with an interface that looks very similar to Discovery. Here we can see the data modeling that we're going to use for templating our custom visual. Hierarchies, measures, elements, and the drop zones. And then we have a separate set of functionality here, which allows us to customize the drop zones for the custom visual. The script, which will be the holder for the custom visual logic, and any metadata associated with it, which is the name, the description, and ultimately the icon. Remember, this is just the design of the custom visual. It's not how you use it as an end user. So to begin with, we're going to go ahead and look at the drop zones. As a designer, I'm able to choose from one of 5 generic drop zone types, and picking one of them will allow me to use that as a template, and from here I can customize it. So let's assume I don't want to allow trellising in my custom visual. I turn them off, and instead of using the word values, I want to use the word scores. Hitting the apply button will change the drop zone choices offered to the user. In the scripting department, this is where you're going to put your JavaScript logic that is going to drive your visual. And from that perspective, you need to supply all the logic that would wire up the visual to use the data, the drop zone logic, the coloring logic, the interactivity logic, and so on and so forth. This is outside of the scope of this video to describe them all, but there is a whole topic or topics in Pyramid's help section to describe the custom visual APIs that you can use to work out how to draw your visualization. And last but not least, there is the metadata, as I said earlier. To simplify this demonstration, we're going to pull down an example that has been posted to the marketplace for use, and for that we will use the Aster plot. Hitting download, we'll pull all the settings down for this custom visual. You can see in the drop zones it is chosen to use the charting option with the additional values and filters turned off, and in this case we want to turn them on, so I will change that. In the scripting section, you can see we now have an enormous amount of code to draw the Aster plot, which has been scraped off the D3 examples website. If you look carefully, you'll see all these pointers to api.data.this and api.dat. These are all the API interconnections into Pyramid, and this is how you would wire up your JavaScript coding to the Pyramid query engine. And last but not least, we've even got the metadata filled out for you with an icon and a name. To see the effect, I hit apply all. And now I'm ready to actually do a quick sample of my Aster plot. So for example, in this situation, maybe I want to take location, use that to drive color, cost to drive the score, and quantity to drive the weight. And doing something like that will actually give me a nice visualization, as you can see here. This is just a good example of how it might look when it's published. And I can do, for example, see how the trellising might work, so on and so forth. So this is a good example of what's going to come out in the custom visual. At this point, I like it. I hit the save button. And when I save it, I can save it to a public space. This is where it gets interesting. The reason is that access to the custom visual is driven heavily by the same security and governance framework for any other business logic, as I said earlier. And this will allow you to work out who will and who won't be able to see the custom visual when they use it. So hitting save now does the custom visual. And let's close that out. Now, if I'm a normal user, I come into Discovery as normal. I'm going to go to my database, and I'm going to start drawing things as I would do ordinarily. Nothing special there. So I'm going to say, yes, I'd like to see that one, and I'd like to see cost, and maybe I would like to see quantity driving size. At this point, I'd go, geez, I'd like to see this as my new Aster plot. I come to the custom visual icon, which is down here, right click, and I'm shown the Aster plot visualization icon because I have security access to it. I click on it, and it goes ahead and draws me the Aster plot as such. And better than that, I can use all the other drop zones inside Pyramid like any other tool. So now I'm looking at accessories versus clothing. Last but not least, we can trellis this if we want to. We can use the different ribbon settings to do that. Let's go ahead and put something like that over there so I get a 4 up. And in fact, all the settings that have been set up inside the custom visual will apply here, including the colors, as you can see from this particular example. Once this is done, and I like what I see, as an end user, I simply hit the save button, call it my report. It happens to use an Asta plot, and from that perspective, I don't really care how it works. What's impressive is that later on, as a developer, if I decide that I want to edit the Asta plot so that I want to change the way it works, I can open up the file again, look at the code, edit the way the code works, save it, and any other chart or dashboard or report or publication that uses the Asta plot will now have an instantaneous update and upgrade in the way the Asta plot works and the way it looks. And this is the power of Pyramid's shared business logic paradigm, and it's also why Pyramid's approach to custom visuals is very scalable and usable in a global enterprise environment.